And we are back for another episode of the Double Switch podcast. Some bad things have happened these past couple weeks.
Yeah.
It's not full blown
grace.
disaster, but it's not. We're not going to get on here and talk about how cheery the past week was. Dealing with the injury bug a little bit. JT obviously was hurt last time we spoke. Lost our next two, our two best hitters. Maybe you could make an argument there are two best hitters in this lineup this year. Bryce Harper is obviously out with a hamstring injury, and Schwartz is out with a groin injury, and they happened on the same day, the same night, in a very crappy game. But it's okay, because as far as I'm concerned, we avoided just a disastrous outcome. IL stints are kind of baked into the formula with most of this team and most players. Everybody gets hurt eventually. It sucks they're hurt at the same time, but I'm looking at the positive side here. They'll be back sooner rather than later. How are you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing great, Josh. Like you said, I'm honestly relieved. Watching that game with Schwarber and Harper, I went to bed that night just in a horrid mood. I'm like, oh, it's all over. It's all over. We can't do this without Harp. Luckily, that reaction he had, he scared the heck out of me. With the way he was grabbing him that knee. Oh my goodness,
dude! Time out. Is there a more dramatic player when it comes to that stuff? Do you remember last year in the playoffs when somebody hit his funny bone, and I thought that he tore his UCL again? The whole stadium, he was my God, it's so obvious when he's hurt because he looks just awful. When he swings funny, he's twisting all around, and you're like, oh my God, here we go again. I thought he tore his hamstring.
No, the reaction seemed like it, but they don't call him the showman for nothing. He shows all of his emotions, not just the good ones. And but thankfully, it's just a strain. We can possibly have him back before the Dodgers series.
Yeah, it's going to be tough without those two. I was looking at this lineup the game after both of those guys got hurt. Bryson Stott moves up to the leadoff spot. He's looked bad. I don't like talking about it because I believe in the skill set. I think he's going to get better. He's been pretty rough for a while now, so it's not ideal moving him to the leadoff spot when he's hitting like this. Obviously, you have Trey, who's the big guy in the lineup now. Alec Boehm has to move up to the 3 spot. He's another big guy. Marsh all the way up at cleanup, which I like it. It's just he's not the prototypical cleanup hitter. Castellanos batting 5th. We know the story with him. And then after that, dude, it gets pretty thin fast. We're relying on a lot of guys like Cody Clemens, Stubbs, Sosa, David Dahl, Rojas is back up, and obviously Christian Pache has been here. These are guys who are very good in short stints. Our bench has been somewhat of a strength this year, but these are not guys who are meant to be thrown out there every day. Maybe Sosa. Sosa's the debatable one, but the other guys are they don't pack much of a punch, and they have holes that can be exposed with consistent playing time. We're asking a lot of them to not only play every day, but perform. Whit Merrifield's another big one he's getting some run here, and we don't really talk about him either, but he's been just terrible, full-blown, really worst case scenario. We're going to have to rely on a lot of people, and we're going to have to rely on the big guys, Alec Boehm, Trey Turner, continuing to be really, really good. It's a tall task, and you were mentioning before we hopped on here, the schedule is not doing us any favors. It's a bad time for injuries like this. You'd like to look up and see, the Rockies on the schedule or something, but some good teams coming, and I can't say I feel super good about where we are right now, but in the standings, we built a nice little buffer here, and like I said, we avoided disaster with the two big lefty bats, so weather the storm, really.
Yeah, no, like you said, though, I think a strength of our team has been the bench this year and our ability to kind of be able to play matchups really well. I think with Boehm's ability to slide over to first base, we can kind of have Sosa in the lineup against lefties, and then we could keep Boehm at third base and put Cody Clemens in against a right-handed hitter to kind of play the splits well. What we're really going to need Marsh is going to have to be good against lefties and righties because we can play the platoon stuff with like Rojas and Dahl, but the fact that Witt and Pache have just been horrid against both lefties and righties puts us in a tough spot in the outfield right now. So I think that's the guys are going to have the righties are going to have to hit left-handed pitching, and the left-handed hitters are going to have to hit right-handed pitching. There's no messing around. They got to perform.
Yeah, Topper doesn't really have that luxury of taking Stott and Marsh out against lefties anymore, because if you take those two out, then you're talking starting your whole bench, and the only regulars you really have are Bohm, Trey, and Castellanos. So it's thin pickings out there. But yeah, the Harper injury, they're saying the same as the Marsh injury, which is 12 days, and he had a rehab assignment, so probably 10 days.
10 days would put him back the Monday after the Braves series, prior to the Dodgers series on Tuesday.
One week, right?
What's that?
1 week from now, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, it sucks.
Him and Schwarber.
Yeah, it sucks we don't have him for that Braves series, because that's going to be the first matchup we've had with them since opening day, right?
And it stinks that we can't go into it full force because we didn't look very good in that opening series. But
yeah, I guess they're not going into it full force either without Strider and Acuna, so it's a little more even, I guess. Not really.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think that they're going to find a way to get by. It's a veteran team. Yesterday, was the Ranger game? That was the sloppiest I've seen the team look this season, I think. 4 errors. Ranger looked pretty bad. Five errors is just insane. Yeah, it's you have to get the players to perform, and you have to keep the players' heads on straight, because if the big guys don't perform right, they're going to start feeling the pressure, and that's when things kind of start to spiral. So it's also up to Topper to kind of keep this clubhouse in check. It's good that the players are still traveling with the ball club, so they'll still be there. Let's talk baseball. Past couple weeks, right. What are you seeing? What's been sticking out to you lately? I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but
honestly, nothing's really like stuck out to me like that's like been like that sharp. I feel like we're like keeping our heads above water, but somehow we are still the best team in baseball. I mean, the thing that stuck out to me is Bohm just continuing to crush the ball. I think it's something that me and you talked about in the beginning of the year, because you've always been the highest of highs on Bohm. We know this. And my biggest concern at the beginning of the year was his slumps. When he gets in that slump, can he break out of it, or is he going to let that thing linger? Is his body language going to change? Is he going to let it derail his season? And he's answered that question. I mean, not at all. I mean, his body language this year has been exceptional. And that slump he had, I guess it was like 3 weeks ago, barely lasted like any time.
Yeah, he crawled right out of it. Then this weekend, he crushed a ball that you're not really used to seeing Alec Bohm crush. I mean, he just seems like a hitter who, when it's going really well, he just stays within himself, and when it goes bad and when he's not really feeling it, he just puts the bat on the ball, and he becomes just this hitter who can just find holes. It's a wonderful balance. He's going to be the starter at third base in the All-Star game. I checked today; it's 70-30, and it's awesome. I mean, he should obviously be the starter. It's not even close this year. He's really good. Not much more we can say about him. We should probably focus on other players, because I could go on forever. Christopher Sanchez is a guy I want to talk about, because the contract kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't even know it was like under consideration, the contract extension. But it makes sense. I read all about it. I kind of saw the numbers. I saw where each side was coming from. 1 year ago today, we did not even think that Christopher Sanchez was an option in the rotation long term. We knew that he had the ability to pitch at the major league level. He had glimpses of success. Was he a reliever? Was he a starter? We didn't know. He was just that guy we kept on a schedule in Lehigh Valley in case disaster struck and we needed to start. And over that past year, he has gone from just a mixed bag and unknown to maybe the second or third best pitcher in this rotation. The way he's pitching now, last year we saw a control artist, Christopher Sanchez, just ground ball machine. He was kind of Ranger 2.0.
Yeah.
This year, he's throwing 96 miles an hour. The control, it was a little shaky to start. It's insane now. It's pinpoint control at 96 miles an hour. And unlike Ranger, he has a pitch that is like legitimate, like pitcher ninja type stuff. Ranger has pitchability. Ranger knows how to pitch. Christopher Sanchez has a changeup that pitchers just dream of having. The way he can pronate on that ball and make it just disappear by the time it gets to home plate. It's an out pitch that kind of separates like good major league players, good major league pitchers from really good pitchers. Like the really good ones have that pitch, you know. I mean, Nola with obviously the curveball. Just think about like the best pitcher, you know, Kershaw, the curveball. They have a pitch that they can go to and they can get guaranteed outs. It's always there. Christopher Sanchez has that pitch and that changeup. And I mean, you're looking at a complete pitcher now. Wonderful arsenal, excellent control. Temperament seems good on the mound, and he just keeps getting better. I don't know what the ceiling is for him ultimately, but every start he just seems to get better and better and better. And this is a guy who's second in the. He might be first now. I don't know if Ranger his ERA got higher after the start yesterday. He might be first in ERA in the NL, first or second. And he's our four starter.
I know Rangers up at a 2.27 now.
Yeah, it's and just the way he pitches, it's a bulldog mentality. He's really, really good. He deserves that money, and it's an excellent contract. Excellent contract by Dave Dombrowski.
Yeah, it's a very team-friendly contract. It's something that even if this is Christopher Sanchez's ceiling as a pitcher, the way he's pitching right now, even if the everyday Christopher Sanchez is a little bit a notch below this, I still think it's a great deal. I think we're going to see something for Ranger, probably a little more similar, but Christopher Sanchez really is like the MVP this year because now we have both of our 5 starters. We used to be fighting about which 5 starter. Now both of them are hurt, and it just makes it so much more important for a guy like Chris Sanchez because now we have like those situations where we have like an off day that lines up well. We can skip the 5 starter or something like that, and we could trust our 4 starter to get the win. It's a luxury for sure, and he has length. He can go into the 7th, 8th inning. He can do a complete game shutout.
At this point, this is not a knock on anybody, but who do you feel better about when they're pitching? Christopher Sanchez or Aaron Nola?
Right now, Chris Sanchez. I agree. I like
Sanchez.
I really do like his demeanor. It's different. He's just like laser focused. Like you could tell he's like a gamer. I mean, we all know Nola. Like he's like the most nonchalant pitcher out there. He doesn't give you as much confidence because of like that. But Chris Sanchez looks like he's like competitively into the game. And yeah, no, you're right. Though the feeling you get when Chris Sanchez is on the mound is different than Nola.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with the ground ball rate. Christopher Sanchez is just a ground ball machine. And Nola obviously struggles with home runs. You feel at any point in the game, Nola can unravel and give up the long ball. I think he has 14 this year already, which is better than last year, but it's not good. And Christopher Sanchez doesn't seem to have that blow-up potential like pitchers who give up home runs do. It's a safer, high-floor profile. And then, like I said, you mix it with the control and the stuff, and suddenly you have a high-floor, high-ceiling pitcher. I feel great about where he's at. I feel great about him starting a postseason game. And he should be in Arlington in a couple of weeks in the All-Star game as well.
Couldn't agree more. I could not agree more with that statement.
Yeah. Other than that, though, I think that kind of sums up the big names. I think
Mercado's worth a conversation.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I'm not sure what to say about Mercado. I'd like to see a start first. And I think that I'll have a lot more to say after I see him pitch. He's here, obviously, because Turnbull's hurt. There's a whole there's a whole debate in Philadelphia over like the Turnbull injury. And I never wanted to remove him from the rotation. I get it. Yeah, it's annoying, but it's all in the past at this point. Now both of them are hurt. We were worried about one getting hurt, and now both of them are hurt. But yeah, like you said, Mercado's here, and he's interesting. He's a very interesting pitcher. He doesn't have the it's funny because he does have the stuff. Like last year, 35% strikeout rate. This year, 22%. So like it's the same pitcher. He's not using his stuff like he used to. He's walking a little more. He's striking out less. But the results are there. His minor league stats kind of scream regression, not like disastrous blow up regression, but they're a little deceiving. I think he has like a 1.7 ERA. That's like peak Andrew Painter type numbers. It's not that. Like we're not dealing with that here. This is a kind of a veteran minor leaguer, if that thing exists. But I think that he's a good option. Frankly, he's our only option because no one else down there is really ready to pitch. Abel's, we got to have a talk about Abel soon because Abel's a disaster.
We'll keep that for a prospect podcast because
we got to have a talk about that. We got to have a talk.
I have been paying attention to what's going on with him. Yeah, we can talk about that. I don't want to spend 30 minutes on that.
Real quick, is the ERA still in the 6s or is it 7 or something around there?
I believe it's still mid 6s.
Yeah. Not Mick Abel's time, as you can see. Tyler Phillips stretched out. You know, him or Mercado. It's a coin flip. We kind of just need him to be all right, and hope that it goes well because there's not much beyond him.
Yeah, we need him to be a true number 5 starter. Give us 5 innings and try not to let up more than 3 earned runs.
Yeah,
that's really all we can ask.
It's going to be quite the challenge because kind of on to the next point. As you mentioned, schedule gets pretty tough right now. Braves later this week. Dodgers.
We got Cubs 3 games away, Braves 3 games away, and then Dodgers 3 games at home, and then Athletics 3 games at home.
Okay.
For the All-Star break.
Okay, so the first thing I think of when you say that is we're probably going to get tested this upcoming 2 weeks in terms of the offense because just those teams that you mentioned. Are we going to miss Shota Imanaga and Justin Steele? I didn't check the probables.
We get Hayden Wozniacki. That was the only one they had announced.
Okay.
Because Javier Assad's on the IL. He's filling in.
Okay. Yeah, we got those. So I know we're going to get Glass now later in the week. Or the following week. We're probably going to get him. Sale, Fried. You know, this is some teams with some good pitchers. And not that we haven't faced good pitchers, but we have seen the team get beaten by good pitchers. I know we faced Tanner Houck earlier in the season. Didn't look too good against him. I know we just faced Streak Skubal. We looked awful against him. And we're obviously dealing with kind of a thin lineup. Runs might be kind of a hard thing to come by these upcoming 2 weeks. It's going to be a good challenge. It would have been a good challenge for the healthy players too. I think it would have been good for everybody to see these guys. But yeah, we're just gonna have to find a way to manufacture runs. Gonna have to get creative, kind of like what Rojas did a couple days ago. Legging out a double. Kind of just find ways to score other than how we've been doing it. We don't have our main power hitters. I know JT, Harper, and Schwarber were 45% of our home runs. Not going to be many long balls. It's going to be a grind, but we knew this was coming. We always knew that the first part of our schedule was kind of light and better teams were on the horizon.
I got a question for you, Josh.
Yeah.
Over this next road trip, I think this is pivotal. I think the Cubs and Braves road trip, because those are the games we're guaranteed to be without Schwarber and Harper. There's a chance we get them both back before the Dodgers series. Not definite, but over those next 6 games, how do you see us coming out of that? What do you think our record is in those 6 games?
Heart says 3-3. Head says 2-4.
Wow.
I don't want to be pessimistic, but
which one?
It's going to be it's going to be tough going down to Atlanta. It's never easy going down there, but going down there they're not playing too bad. I know the lineup's kind of heating up a bit. I don't see us taking that series. And then the fact that they won yesterday, kind of blew my mind because they did not play well. You can't expect to play the way they just did on Sunday and win games. Like it was kind of a miracle that they won. I think this is going to be a team that's just adjusting to life without, your big stars, and it's not always easy doing that. So I'd probably say 2-4, but I'm hoping for 3-3. Would you kind of agree with that?
I'm putting you down for 2-4, and I'm putting myself down for 3-3.
3-3 is so boring. It's so boring.
I see. I think we're going to take the first two against the Cubs, lose the finale, and then I think the Braves will get 2 out of 3 against us.
So we have is Mercado pitching tonight or tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night. It's Mercado versus Wesnecki, I believe.
That game's going to set the tone for the road trip. So that's a really important game.
Yeah,
they win that.
I gotta be honest. I'm a little scared because there's these next 12 games. There's a chance that with how weak we are, our lead could be of the NL East it could be below 5 realistically.
Yeah, that Brave series has the potential for disaster.
Yeah, but then I had to calm myself down while kind of spiraling earlier today, and I realized that the Braves, they also have to play teams that are pretty good. So they play the Giants 3 games, us 3 games, D-backs and Padres, who are both kind of figuring it out.
Yeah. We've been doing this thing with the Braves where they win, we lose, we win, they lose. I'd feel pretty good if we came out of these next 2 weeks with 6 games. Everybody's getting healthy. JT coming back after the All-Star break. I'd feel good at that point. And then going into the All-Star game, the guys will finally get some rest. I think the schedule has been pretty brutal to them lately. I think that a break would actually be a little good for them. But yeah, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I know that even if this team has a bad couple weeks here, I still just trust the core to figure it out. It's like if you were to tell me this in 2020 or 2021, where the team was just, losing critical games in September every year, I'd be really nervous. But just trust this team, and I think once they're healthy, they still have a really solid couple runs left in them. And yeah, like I said, the schedule's we've been playing teams that are not as bad as the schedule would let on. We went to Baltimore, we went to Boston. We faced the Tigers. We faced 2 good pitchers in the Tigers. It's just a team that I trust, and I think that this week's not going to be pretty. Both the product on the field and kind of how we go about it, but they'll find a way to kind of right the ship and get everybody healthy and back on track.
All right. So while we're on the topic, then what is your prediction for the final 12 games until the break?
I think 5-7 is probably realistic.
5-7. Yeah, I'm thinking 6-6, and I think honestly,
man, that's so lame. 3-3, 6-6.
I think we're being real. When you look at it, we're going to have to face good pitching.
Dude,
you're not getting out of Atlanta or that Dodgers series without facing some really good lefties. And we might have to face the Cubs' really good lefties, which is our Achilles heel.
Yeah, so that's actually an interesting point. I know we talked about it. I made a note to bring it up. With the kind of platoon stuff that Topper does, and there's lineups that we put out with Whit Merrifield, Pache, Sosa. If those guys aren't performing when we face big time lefties, we can be beat because the Terry Screwball game was just a prime example of that because he's a nightmare matchup for Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber, nightmare matchup. So who do you rely on? You rely on Nick Castellanos, Christian Pache, Alec Boehm, the whole latter half of the lineup. And then if they're not stepping up in those games, which is very realistic if you're facing pitchers of that caliber, that might be the formula for beating us. And you look at the playoff picture. You have Max Fried, who we've had success with in the past. You have Chris Sale, who's insane now. I know the Cubs have a couple good lefties. Yeah, there's arms that can kind of beat us.
There are.
And it's on those guys stepping up. It just you can write a whole book about how just the right-handed bench bats have to step up. They haven't been good. Sosa's been just a delight, but he's borderline regular now. If you're going to do this platoon thing that Topper insists on doing, you need to be able to count on the righty bats on the bench. And
I agree.
It's been ugly so far.
That I really, at this point now with Harper and Schwarber out, can we really afford to platoon Stott and Marsh? And is platooning them helping them develop as players at all anymore? I mean, I know their numbers have been bad this year against lefties, but like, look at Pache's numbers and look at Merrifield's numbers against lefties specifically. They're not good. I don't even like watching them. They're at bats. They're awful. Pache and Merrifield have the worst contact, the worst discipline. It's tough to watch. I'd rather see Marsh and Stott struggle through it and get better.
Yeah, you can do platoons. They work for certain teams. They work for the Rays, the Giants, but both sides of the platoon have to work for it to be like worthy of doing. And we're only getting the 50%. And like you said, Whit Merrifield's stat line is triple slash line. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it can't be much better than Brandon Marsh's or Bryson Stott's. With what I've been seeing, he's uncompetitive at bats against righties, against lefties. It doesn't matter. So either they're going to have to pick it up, or we're going to have to let the lefties that we insist on sitting kind of have some runway to figure it out. Because you can't just have half a dead lineup when you face a good lefty.
No.
You're going to give away games.
You can't face if we have to face, let's say we face Amanga, Justin Steele, Fried, Sale.
Fortunately, I think that's actually it. I know Jordan Montgomery's on the D-backs. I'm not super scared.
We don't play the D-backs.
I think those are the two teams. But if you're talking wild card, like, been very realistic, we could face those teams. You know, that NL wild card, they're definitely available. Lodolo on the Reds, don't like that at all.
No, that's not a good matchup for us.
It's interesting. I'd imagine they're probably thinking about it.
Now, I mean, they have to be, and I think they have to just. I just don't think those pitchers are they're going to be like smiling pregame when they see Pache and Whit Merrifield back to back in that lineup. They're like, they probably think the Phillies thought they were smart or something. And yeah, they're giving them an easier out than if you were to put up Stott or Marsh there. In my opinion, I know that's controversial. People have pretty much turned on Brandon Marsh being a full-time player, but I haven't. I just think you can improve if you don't get a chance.
Yeah, like, do you think that these lefties they're looking at the lineup and they're like, oh crap, they're subbing in their righties. This stinks. Like, no,
the big bad Whit and Pache.
Yeah, God like they're not looking at them any different than they're looking at the lefties. I mean, they might think higher of the lefties at this point. You know, it's annoying. And if there's one hole that I have seen in this team, it's that that has not been good. So that's probably the thing to watch, and that's why we're connected.
That was a nice way to say it.
Yeah, that's why we're connected to Luis Robert so much, is because he crushes lefties. I get that part of it, and I get that the hole needs to be filled. I think you can do it a little cheaper, but moral of the story, I think that does need to be fixed.
Yeah, to those listening, there are about 100 different ways to find a guy that can hit lefties that isn't Luis Robert. I think we need to get to that conversation soon, probably next couple episodes. But I do have a closing question for you.
Yeah, what you got?
Just because we're on the topic. More likely to get designated for assignment this season, Whit Merrifield or Christian Pache?
I think it's probably David Dahl, if I'm being completely honest. But I think Whit Merrifield's probably more likely than Christian Pache because he has club control, right? Cheap club control.
Yeah.
And Whit Merrifield, I mean, it's sunk money. We've ate.
Right now, you're talking about Pache?
Yeah,
He's all out
he's
of
not,
options.
but he's not a free agent for a little bit, right? He has arbitration years
No.
remaining. Yeah, it's like that's much more. At the very least, he plays Gold Glove defense in the outfield.
True.
Like Whit Merrifield plays mediocre defense, and they're pretty much both non-factors with the bat. So you'd rather have you already paid Whit Merrifield, so there's really you're not losing anything. You owe him the money anyway. It feels like we're always good for that one veteran contract that just doesn't work. Like it's just we always do it. I don't know why we don't learn, but here we are.
Yeah, we paid. How much did we pay Whit? It was like $8 million.
Paid him 8. We paid Didi 11. We paid Kimball
we
7.
basically paid Whit Merrifield to be Scott Kingery.
We paid Scott Kingery. We paid Josh Harrison $4 million. It's just every year. It's just always a 34-plus-year-old who just has nothing left in the tank.
Gotta love it. That's Phillies baseball, folks.
Fun stuff. I think that's all I have for this episode. Do you have anything else before we get out of here?
No, I don't want our listeners to get a negative stigma from this episode. Yes, things are a little bit down, but we have a nice lead on this NL East, and teams just got to get back to fundamental baseball these next 2 weeks before the All-Star break. We don't have our big bats for the dingers, but we're gonna have to get guys on base, move guys around, and we're gonna need the best of our rotation and our bullpen.
Real quick, including the starter, how many Phillies starters in the NL All-Star game will we have? Let's put the over-under at 3.5.
Did you say including the starters?
Including the starting pitcher who starts the All-Star game.
Is there a cap on how many starters can get in?
Like starting pitchers?
Yeah. From one team?
Well, it's a 26-man roster. Is it a 26-man roster? I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say
no, you have to count just the players who start the game, not the players that get in. The players that start.
Okay.
3.5. Actually, that feels a little low. Let's do 4.5.
Over under 4.5. You're saying?
Yeah. Starters. Under? Okay. So we have 2 guaranteed.
Yeah, I think Bowman Harper.
Harper was voted in. Bohm's going to get it. You don't think a Phillies starting pitcher is going to start the game?
I do. I think Wheeler
That's 3.
will.
That's 3. But you don't think JT, Trey, or either of the 2 outfielders are going to win their votes?
I think Trey will, and I think that'll be 4.
4. Okay.
I said under 4.5.
You don't think Marsh is going to sneak in there? I think he was currently 4th out of 6.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. He has not had that good of a year.
Yeah, well, I mean, Phillies fans are just voting for whoever, but
we do what we do.
Cassidy's not getting any votes because his stat line's ugly. Marsh's is at least he's upper 200s and he has nice little OPS, so he's a little more reasonable. But obviously both of them don't deserve it. And then JT, I mean, Will Smith has just been better. No shade to JT.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be Will Smith, and I don't think JT could even play. So
yeah, I agree with your 4. I think Trey, Bohm, Harper. Which Philly starter?
Wheeler.
Think it'll be Wheeler?
I think it should be Wheeler.
I think it'll be Wheeler.
I mean, he's that guy. He's been so good this year. I think it's a Wheeler Cy Young year.
Yeah, I mean they're not going to give it to Ranger Sanchez. That who the manager picks it, right? So they're going to pick Wheeler. He's just so well respected. Fortunately for
everyone
him,
in baseball respects Wheeler.
I don't think there's really any other options besides maybe Glasnow. Maybe. Probably not. I think it's going to be Wheeler.
Yeah, I think Wheeler just makes the most sense. Glasnow's been great, but I think Wheeler's just should get it.
How many Phillies starting pitchers will be in Arlington? Actually, how many Phillies pitchers?
Well, so Wheeler, Ranger, Nola. I think Sanchez gets snubbed.
Really?
I do. And then just because I don't think people know about him, and it's not fans vote either. So
yeah, it's not fans vote, which actually kind of benefits Sanchez.
and then I'm thinking just Strom in the bullpen.
I'm thinking, so mine's different. I think it's Wheeler, Ranger, Sanchez. I think Nola gets subbed, and I think it's Hoffman in the bullpen.
Yeah, actually, I think I might like that one more. I think that might be more realistic.
I know Strom didn't have a very good weekend.
No, he did not, but
I didn't check
so good
line.
until like this past like 2 weeks. So
yeah, the fact that we have named like 12 players is just a testament to how well these first couple months have gone. It's great. Good stuff.
Yeah, I feel like we're the Braves.
Yeah. Got anything else before we get out of here?
No, that's all for me.
As always, thank you guys for listening, and we will be back to talk to you before the All-Star game and before the second half.
We'll come back after the Brave series.
Sounds good to me. As always, thank you guys for listening, and take care.
Go Phils.